It's bacon time. Welcome to Dad's Bacon Talking Sports. Bring Troy in here right away, and we'll get the show kicked off. Troy, how you doing this week?
All right. How are you doing?
Doing well. I'm still a little bit hurt, not going to lie. My Brewers loss yesterday. It's still hitting the field a little bit. Had the pleasure of going down Tuesday with my dad to the game, and had a good time, of course. Still a good time with the old man, but it still hits a little personally, those playoff losses.
Yeah, it's tough, and especially you watch a whole season, and we were discussing this in our group chat a little bit, but you watch a whole season, 162 games, and next thing you know, you lose 2 games, and the season's over.
At home, no less. You're sitting here saying, you know what, this is great. We slept at home. We played well at home all year.
Yeah.
We got Burns pitching, and it's just like, man, it's that one inning too long. And, we're talking about it all the time, too. How Council's been that manager, just manages this team just right and knows when to pull the plug. And, these last 2 games, that was the bane. We just didn't pull the trigger at the wrong time. So,
yep.
Oh, well, it was done is done, but let's go O's and let's go Bravos. Let's have a fun trip the rest of the way.
I think I said last week I wasn't sure, but the team I was most afraid of is the Phillies, and that's still the case. But I think the 1 seeds matching up would be really fun in this instance with the O's and the Braves going at it. I think that would be a really fun World Series.
Well, I think you get a chance to see with the up and coming young team with the Orioles, and they've got a lot of young, fun talent. The team that had that number 1 farm system in baseball for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And the Braves have been that kind of powerhouse these last 4 or 5 years again. So really get to enjoy seeing good baseball for one thing, but also learning some of these new names who we're going to see for the next 5-6 years in the playoffs for the Orioles.
Yeah.
Also seeing now Acuna and it kind of some redemption almost for Matt Olson this year.
Right.
Kind of some undue knocks for being the Freeman replacement,
right?
But has frankly outperformed Freddie this year.
Yeah, so, I mean that's a lot to live up to. And then heck, what did he end the year with? 54 homers? Was that what it was? I don't remember, but
it'd be a lot if I told you. Yeah, it
was a lot. It was a lot, and from things that I heard is like, hey, don't go out there and try to be Freeman's replacement. Just be you. And yeah, You're going to get some strikeouts with him. You're not going to get the 320 average that Freeman will get, but you're going to get 260. You're going to get 50 homers or somewhere in that range, and you're going to get 120 some RBIs. I mean, that's what you want out of it. You want somebody in there to drive those runs in. I mean, you got Acuna up before him. You have Ozzie, who's a good, getting on base. So it's a really good thing. And I'm curious to see with the Braves too how they went into the postseason differently than they did last year. They used the break last year and literally used it as a break. Now this year they've played a couple simulated games against each other and stuff to kind of keep things moving. So right. I'm curious to see if that'll work out better than what it did last year, because sometimes that layoff hurts teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we see that in the NFL too? With that week off, can kind of break your stride a little bit too much. In baseball, we know it was a game of routine, a game of rhythm.
Yep.
And kind of looking at this, especially with the Braves. The funny thing with me too is looking at this team. Michael Harris, the guy we haven't talked about yet, Austin Riley. You have just the names keep coming and coming.
Michael Harris, their 9-hole hitter, by the way, who's hitting right under 300 or something.
Harris saved my bacon on my fantasy baseball team this year. Made me help keep me relevant when I had kind of bad injuries with Mike Trout and some other guys, and really plugged in very nicely for me. But even beyond that, Strider with the strikeouts was kind of that nice piece that, good year last year, but really took a huge step forward for him this year, and what they needed him to. So, no, Braves
only 20-game winner, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep. So you're in a spot right now where you look at the Braves, and there's not really a hole in that team, right? They can pitch, they certainly can hit, and just a fun baseball team to watch. And the Orioles kind of the same way overall. You don't know the names there. Now, the biggest thing for the Orioles coming to the story right now is Bautista is going to be out for the playoffs. Unfortunately, it looks like he's out for next year as well. So losing your closer this close to the playoffs, it's a real knock to the team. But you have all that energy, all of that positive vibes here going for Charm City here a little bit. And so got to go a little bit batty for the O's here and enjoy seeing Birdland kind of getting excited a little bit for good reason. Especially when you go and win as many games as they did, coming back from that torrid start from the Rays and win the division like they did. Massive props to them. So I fully admit, yeah, I'm an Orioles fan, like behind my Brewers, of course, but I do cheer for them, and I'm a little bit biased. But no, this is gonna be a fun rest of the way, and I hope the Diamondbacks clean the Dodgers' clocks.
I wouldn't mind seeing that either. But then the one thing that would worry me about that, though, is if they go in there and beat the Dodgers 4-1 or 4-2, then you got to worry, is this the hot team we need to worry about this postseason? You know what I mean?
Well, and we talked about it before, too, is in the playoffs, you get those few hot pitchers. And when you have Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, those two guys can carry you. And what impressed me in the Brewers series, and a lot of the analysts talk about this, was the Brewers were supposed to have the advantage in the bullpen, and the Brewers bullpen wasn't the problem.
Yeah.
Watching that series, it was both. I mean, we lost due to 3 home runs against Burns.
Right.
And then Freddie staying in just a little too long, you have 4 runs in the 6th in game 2. But that Diamondbacks bullpen bent but didn't break against us. And so that's where I see this as the Diamondbacks bullpen is underrated. And those guys like to chirp. Like, we were in there, I was right behind that bullpen in game 1. We're chirping the entire time. Now that 7th inning, they're kind of coming back after a little bit back right in our ears. So all in good fun, of course. And
sure.
It was good natured. But look, the Diamondbacks are a hard team to hate. Again, another young team, a lot of good, fun baseball players who play the game right. Corbin Carroll, I can watch that guy play baseball every day.
Oh God, he's a lot of fun to watch. I like watching that guy play. And how about that play Longoria made? Oh my God. Like, what is he, 38 years old? He still got up and scooped that ball. Like, that was an amazing play.
As a 37-year-old man, I can promise you felt that one the next day. Our bodies don't move that way anymore, Evan. Come on. That's not what we do. But
that was impressive. But no, I mean, I think what this really boils down to, like all sports, once you get into the playoffs, who gets hot. But other than that, it's the bullpens. And you were mentioning that with the Brewers and stuff like that too, because I remember 2 years ago, really, intensely watching the Braves playoff run there when they ended up winning the World Series there. You got to the 6th inning, that game was over.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they were bringing Matzik in, they were bringing Minter in, and I forget who their closer was that year. Was that? No, that wasn't Melanson. Who was it that year? I don't remember. But I mean, that was just amazing. Like, they literally were like, let's just get to the 6th inning, and then we know this game's in hand. And when you have 3 guys at the end of your bullpen like that can go in there and give you an inning each and get you out of a jam or whatever, like that's huge. So I'm curious to see what the Braves can do with their bullpen this year, because I haven't been that impressed at the end of the regular season with that bullpen. So.
Well, and then Will Smith that year, by the way. I really remember that.
Who was it?
Will Smith was still in your bullpen there.
That's right. That's who it was. Yep. He was the closer. Yep.
But you also had Luke Jackson in the back of that bullpen who lost that closer spot during the season. But anyway, and Matzik was the guy that broke my heart. That's the guy I thought the Brewers could pick apart in that NLDS. Again, went to the games. I'm a sports degenerate. Took my son and had a little chuckle at the time with my 7-year-old son's talking smack to these Braves fans while we're in the battery walking up to the stadium. But how the Christian Yelich is going to hit 2 home runs today and we're going to beat your Braves. Then we're going to have to walk a shame back to the hotel after the game. But anyways, again, all good fun. But moving forward a little bit, we got the playoffs here. We'll look at the matchups. The Diamondbacks.
It's just crazy to think too, the starters that the Braves are missing right now that could be helping them as well. Like, I don't know if Kyle Wright's going to be back here yet or not. I don't know. But then you had Mike Soroka, who looked like he was going to be their ace coming in 3 or 4 years ago, and he got hurt, and then that's when Max Fried took over and became the ace then. But Soroka was looking really good, and then I think he had an Achilles, and then he had something with his elbow, and now he's out again for the rest of the year. But it's just crazy to think they have 5 legitimate, like 1A, 2A starters or something like that. Did you lose me there a second? Or you still got me?
Did I? I hear you. We're good.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I lost myself. I didn't hear me. But no, they have like 5 guys that could be 1 or 2s, in most rotations, and they're 5 deep. But just injuries obviously catches up to you. But Well, we jumped into baseball talk a little bit earlier there, but
well, yeah. Sorry about that. I got a little ahead of myself. It's the
okay. I
bird
mean,
beats my heart, I guess. And
we got the baseball talk out of the way in case Aaron joins us here, because he wouldn't want to talk about it anyway. So
well, I'll tell you what. We'll finish the conversation on baseball here really quick. I just want to hit your thoughts early with the NLDS. Hitting the Braves Phillies. What do you expect, and what's your prediction?
man, that's gonna be a really tough series, man. It's gonna be really tough. I'll say again what I said earlier. Like that's the team that really scared me the most. And just because they know each other so well and all that, Philly just is one of those teams where when they get hot, they have so much long ball potential there on that lineup. And I don't know, man. I think the Braves are going to probably use last year getting knocked out by them as some motivation. But I still think it's going to be a close series. I'm going to say the Braves take it like 4-2.
Well, it's a 5-game series. I'm thin one.
Oh, that's right. It is a 5-game series. You're right. Yeah. So in that case, I'll go all 5. I'll say it goes 3-2.
Yeah, I got the Braves taking it in 4. I think they'll get that game in Philly to kind of rub the salt in the wound a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But going to the Diamondbacks and Dodgers, I think that series does go 5 games, in my opinion. Looking at what I'm seeing now, the Merrill Kelly did not pitch at all in that Brewers series. He's fresh, ready to go.
Yep.
Now pitching game 2, they all have a good long rest before this next series starts.
Yep.
So I think that they're set up really well, where I think you can see the Diamondbacks really set the table for themselves. And the Dodgers pitching has been suspect this year. They're banged up. They're not really half one. So I think we could see the Dodgers Diamondbacks go 5. I think that's going to be Arizona holding their home field, Dodgers holding their home field. And again, familiar opponents. They know each other well.
Yep.
But Diamondbacks maybe steal one in LA early to flip that series. But I think it's going to be holding home field for both teams and end up going 3-2 the Dodgers. What do you think?
No, I pretty much agree with that sentiment. I think it is going to be very similar. I think it's going to be a lot of Diamondbacks pitching holding them in that series. I still think the Diamondbacks are like a hitter or 2 away from possibly winning that series, and I think that's what's going to be the final straw there. I think the Dodgers are just a little bit more stronger in their batting lineup and stuff. So yeah, I agree though. I think it's going to be a tight series. I think the Diamondback pitching will keep them in there, but I think both series go 5, and I think home teams win both on their fields.
Okay. And then going to the American League, we get the Orioles before, the Orioles and the Rangers. To me, it's probably the best series of the entire lot. I mean, Phillies, Braves, no disrespect there, but the Rangers and the Orioles were 2 of the best teams, in the American League most of the year.
Yeah.
The Rangers fell off for a spell, found their groove, lost the division on the last day of the season.
Yeah.
But they took care of business in Tampa Bay, and here they are now. So I guess, what do you see happening for Baltimore and Texas in that ALDS?
It's a tough series for me to call just because I feel like Baltimore, much like Arizona, but we've already seen Arizona jump in there and kind of see that they're scrappy and they're going to hang in there and they're going to play good ball.
Right.
Baltimore is hard to read right now because they're such a young group that you don't know how they're going to react to this situation, how they're going to handle it. That being said, I think they're young and arrogant enough, and I shouldn't say arrogant, naive enough to not really fall into that situation where the moment and the lights are going to get to them. And sure. I would not be surprised here. I'll respect to Texas, but I would not be surprised to see a 3-0 Baltimore win or possibly 3-1. So I'll just to be safe, I'll say 3-1. But I think Baltimore takes care of Texas kind of easily, to be honest. I think who's the stud that went back to Texas? Was that Verlander?
Well, Verlander's in Houston, but
Houston. Who am I thinking of? Who went to Texas?
Scherzer.
Who?
Scherzer.
That's it. Scherzer. Is he pitching? Is he?
I'd be lying if I told you. I thought he got hurt, but I could be wrong.
Okay,
maybe back.
That's right. I got Texas and Houston mixed up there. I was thinking Verlander, but
okay.
Good. Well, then in that case, I'll tell you what. Since I had my studs mixed up wrong there, I'll go with the sweep. I'll go with Baltimore 3-0.
Okay, fair enough. But going the other side, the Astros get the Twins, and the Twins surprised me. I'll say that right away.
Very much.
I did not think the Twins had it in them.
Yep.
And they took care of a very feisty, very good Blue Jays team in short order. I mean, they manhandled them as far as I can see it in that wild card series. So for me, I have a hard time.
And they were barely over 500 to get in, right? Weren't they only like 85 wins or something?
Yeah, they were in the worst division in baseball. They kind of backed into the playoffs, if you can call it that. But the Twins, I mean, they looked the part. They played the part, and they did their thing against a good Blue Jays team. And now they got the spot against the Astros. The Astros, we talked before about the Orioles being naive and new to this. The Astros are the exact opposite, right? These are these guys that have been here, done that time and time again. And even going back to, I think, game 161, you heard all the celebrations happen. The Rangers are popping champagne, going nuts. The Astros clinched the playoff spot, and it sounded like it was like a funeral in their clubhouse. It's kind of like, it's just another day. Like, yeah, okay, we're in the playoffs. We got a game tomorrow, trying to win our division. We don't care. So, I mean, I look at that, and I'm seeing this. I'm like, well, it intrigues me to see what do we get from this. I mean, obviously, if you're not TJ, you're not a Houston person, you're kind of in a spot where you enjoy cheering against the Astros. But the other side of this one is kind of that spot now where, like, man, these guys might be one of the best teams that the league has seen overall roster, like in the roster, that stayed together and done amazing things with a manager that's been vindicated through this roster in Dusty Baker. So all that said, I think that the Twins have won me over to believe they won't get swept, but I have the Astros in 4 here. What do you think?
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's fair. That's kind of where I was leaning to, kind of thinking about things. I'm thinking very much that the Astros have the potential to take that 3-0, but something about that the way that the Twins took care of the Blue Jays in that first series there, I think they're scrappy enough to at least scrape one game out. So, no, I agree with that totally. I think it's going to be a 3-1 Astros lead there, or win.
As if on cue, when we finish baseball, we bring in Father Bacon. Aaron has joined us.
Well, good. That gives me a minute to step out here a second, guys.
Hey.
All right.
All right. Hello.
Aaron, how you doing tonight?
Can you hear me?
I hear you. That's fine. Yep.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So we got our baseball talking
here.
before you got here, so we kind of covered those bases as it were right away.
Nice. I'm still in mourning. I'm still in mourning right now with the way the Brewers bailed on the playoffs. So that's probably a good thing.
Well, and that's how I started it all off. For me, it's still the heartbreak and that unbreak my heart, just my heart song this week. But all that stuff, speaking of unbreaking my heart, we get to look at football here. And I shared a graphic with you today for the Packers. The last time the Raiders beat the Packers, it was 1987 in the regular season. I couldn't believe that.
Yep.
It's a crazy thing. Granted, they don't play it a lot, but that's an unreal streak, isn't it?
It is, and it was 9 in a row. I think if I read the stat correctly.
Yeah. So I mean, you look at it's just. I mean, you got the disaster that is Josh McDaniels coaching that team right now.
Yeah.
So I'm here. Monday Night Football with the Raiders and Packers makes you think about the Brett Favre after Irv passed game again. Yep. I mean, all these things come rushing back to my brain. I'm hoping this means the longer break, the longer rest, Jordan Love gets his mind collected again, and we see that good Jordan Love ready to go again.
Yeah, and I'm hoping obviously that you're right. I think the most interesting stat for this coming game is, or one of the more interesting ones is, I believe I heard that right now, and this shocks me just because they have Jacobs as their main running back, but I believe I heard that the Raiders rushing offense is like 30th in the league. Mm-hmm. And of course we have like the third worst rush defense. So, I mean, that's one of the things that's like, okay, what's going to give? But I mean, I do think the most important thing is what Packers team is going to show up. Is it going to be the one with the Bears, that put 38 up on the Bears, or is it going to be, the ones that haven't seemed to have remembered to come out of the locker room for the past few weeks until like the fourth quarter. So,
well, and not too far on the rabbit hole here, which I'm good for, obviously, you know that. But looking at this Raiders team, that sets up well for this Packers defense. It really does, because you look at what they have for personnel. To your point, the rushing attack is lagging. Jacobs is clearly lagging behind from that heavy workload last year. Overall, Garoppolo is not healthy. That's evident, and they're kind of lagging behind that way a little bit as well. Their tight ends
is he coming back this
are
week?
Either young or just not.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he coming back or not?
Garoppolo's still in the injury report and possible playing, but let's be honest, Aiden O'Connell didn't look like he's a world beater either, so I'm not really worried about Purdue quarterback beatings. Unless it's Drew Brees. Sorry, Drew, my bad. But no, in general, looking at this, he's kind of looking at the tight ends. Michael Mayer is kind of like a young tight end finding his way. So the things that have beat the Packers so far this season, none of them are on the Raiders' offense right now. And if you get up, if Jair Alexander is healthy and you shut down Devontae Adams, what's going to beat him? Like, I want to know. And Hunter Renfrow, doubt it. It feels like it sets up very well for us being the Packers, to be that bounce back game that I feel like could be that nice national television. Hey guys, we don't suck yet. We went later. We don't suck yet.
I kind of wish this game.
I agree.
I wish this game was back in Green Bay though, just for Adams to get the return ovation, because he'd get one.
Oh, absolutely. Adams has said the right things, done the right things since he left. Like he left on good terms. It's not like Greg Jennings, who was just running his mouth from day one. So, Greg Jennings.
Well, who knows? Who knows? Maybe they'll be trading him back to Green Bay before the trade deadline. I doubt that would happen.
That'd be something, huh? But sorry.
That would be rather ironic, but.
So I guess going, if you don't mind me kicking a few things here around quick. Tonight's game is a surprise, but one that has my attention right away, I want to ask Troy.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, Buffalo.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to go one of two ways. This is either going to be just ugging into ugly, or it's going to be a track meet. And I don't know which one it's going to be. What feel are you getting as the Buffalo person, and what are you expecting to see here? Because Jacksonville needs. Sorry. Oh,
You asked me my opinion, then you get rid of me.
Well, I can't take so many opinions. No.
No. What do you mean? What do you mean by ugly, though? What do you mean by that?
I mean, like a soccer score. I mean, this like I think. So you
don't think a lopsided thing's possible here?
I really don't. And my reason is Doug Peterson. I think that there's some familiarity for both McDermott and Peterson to begin with. And then you also throw in the fact that Peterson, he's frankly too good of a coach, in my opinion, to come into this game and be ill-prepared. I think that this is where good coaches tend to buckle down and prove their worth. And the Jags' back is against the wall. The Colts are not playing poorly. The Texans just kick the Jaguars' butts. So this is where I see the Jags having to either put up or shut up and go from being that. We were talking about them being a first-round bye to now they're looking like a top 10 pick. So, they got to go to Buffalo and prove they're a contender, or they got to start reevaluating what they're doing.
Well, time out, though. This isn't in Buffalo.
You're right. It's in London. Sorry.
Yep. So, that kind of is one of the things that worries me, is the fact that the Jaguars are already there. They're already adjusted to the time. That's not going to be a factor. Their bodies have already adjusted. The mental clock's all there, all that kind of stuff. So that is one factor that worries me a little bit. If you're making me choose one, ugly or track meet, I'll pick ugly, but only because I don't see a track meet happening with the way that Bills defense is playing right now.
Okay.
So in all reality, I think if these teams played without any advantages or disadvantages, as far as, travel and such. The way they look right now, I think Buffalo would handle them by probably 10.
Okay.
But the game being in London worries me a little bit. The Jaguars, just like the Jets, for whatever reason, seem to match up well with the Bills. Last time they played them, it was a 9-6 game, and the
Sure.
Jaguars won that game. And I think that was Urban Meyer of all guys yet. So that was even before. So Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen, had his way that day.
Yeah.
So that history worries me a little bit. So I don't quite see it how you see it. I think I'm going to take Buffalo here. What is the spread on that right now? 5.5, 6? What is it?
I can get that for you 1 second.
Either way, if it's where I think it is, right there at 6 or whatever, I think they cover.
Sorry.
What is it?
Open at 3.5. It's at 5.5 right now for Buffalo.
5.5.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised that's getting bet on like that. Well, that makes me think that there's an upset working here. Okay, I'll just go with my gut here anyway. I think this is like I don't think Buffalo gets to the 30 mark, but I think they get close. I'm going to say 27-20 Buffalo.
Okay. Aaron, do you have any thoughts on this game at all?
Well, I this shows you how terrible I've been for the last week or so. After that, the Packers, embarrassment on Thursday night, I've just been like, you know what? I got to stay away from football for a little bit. I just need a little bit of a break. I mean, I watched everything on Sunday. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, I can't focus right now because I need to just same with baseball. I got to take a break right now. I didn't realize that Jacksonville was in London 2 weeks in a row. I mean, I know I know Shah Khan loves London and wants to move the team there eventually and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think Buffalo will win it. I mean, I think Troy's on there. Maybe I would make it like a 24-17, something like that, or 24-20. I mean, I would agree with him. I don't think it's going to be a necessarily a track meet where you got 37-34 or anything like that. But and those international games have a way of biting some teams, that especially, I mean, you could say these guys are professionals, but you also can't tell me that travel time and that the time difference and everything else doesn't affect them in some way. I mean, just looking at the way the Packers played against the Giants last year. Now, granted, maybe the Packers weren't as good as we thought they were, but being up 20-10 or whatever, and then just completely, forgetting who they were in the second half. So, I mean, but I still think Buffalo ends up winning it. It wouldn't shock me, though, if Jacksonville ends up pulling an upset, but I don't see it that way.
So there's two other games I want to mention to you guys, but you guys don't mind me keep going on this for a second. And that's
sure.
Cincinnati at Arizona. So some numbers here that have my attention. Arizona is 3-1 against the spread this year. Cincinnati is 0-3-1 against the spread. Both teams are 1-3. Cincy is a 3-point favorite on the road. To me, this has upset written all over it and possibly a dagger on Cincinnati's season. So it feels weird to me, but I kind of like the Cards this week, and it's weird. It's just weird. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm a little shocked that considering how they've been so far this season, that they'd even be favored, especially the way Arizona has not, rolled over and played dead like a lot of people thought they were, or that thought they would.
I ate my crow last week on that.
Yeah, and I'm me too. I mean, I've been watching them like, wow, this team actually seems like they want to win. And maybe it's because Caleb Williams already came out and said he's not going to play with them. They figure, well, what's the point in tanking for him then, or whatever. But Was it last week, Ben? Do you remember, or was it 2 weeks ago that we talked about the teams that still hadn't won a game, and you had rattled off a bunch of them, including it was like the Vikings, Cincinnati, and a couple other teams. And I had said I thought Cincinnati was the one that was going to rebound and make the playoffs. I don't think so anymore. I'm sorry. Even if they win this game, there was talk. Was it 2 weeks ago when they were on Monday Night Football against the Steelers? And I remember listening to some pregame stuff, and a lot of the experts, quote unquote experts, were saying that they thought that Cincinnati should take this opportunity to shelve either put Burrow on the IR for the 4 games that you can or whatever, or at least bench him and not let him play that game to rest his calf. And of course they didn't. They still haven't. I thought he looked terrible last week against the Titans. And I think if they don't watch themselves, they could lose him for a lot longer. I almost think at this point, and maybe they will, depending on how they do against Arizona, but you may have to think of putting him on the bench for a while, whether you put him on IR and lose him for 4 games, or you just, whatever. I think Arizona wins this game.
I think if they would have known going into week 5 that they'd be sitting at 1-3, they probably would have just said, okay, we're going to be 1-3. Okay, well then we're not going to have Burrow in here.
Yeah.
Looking back at it now, that's probably what they should have did. They should have just put him on IR and seen if he was ready to go by week 5. Now they're in this position, and it doesn't look good for them. I still think there's so much talent on that team that I have a hard time thinking they're going to lose to the Cardinals. I mean, this is a game they have to have. They have to have this game.
Yeah, they do. I'm looking at this, and you look back to them getting Orlando Brown Jr., and Jonah Williams got ticked off, and this line got shuffled, and they've been trash. This line has played like pure trash.
It's funny you say that, because I remember that whole situation coming about, and then they were looking to possibly trade him. But what did they move? Did they just move him to right tackle now? Is that all they did?
That's all they did. So, and I don't know if there's injuries there or not. I've not followed that closely, but I can tell you that watching Bengals highlights, watching the games on Red Zone when I can see them, that's a bad old line. It's not a good old line at all.
And can I ask you this? When Stephon Diggs was getting all the hoopla and everything in the off season, and he didn't report to camp, and he was working out some kinks that he had, some disagreements and stuff that he had with the team, and that was becoming a huge story. And I told you guys I thought it was a little too big. It was blown up way out of proportion. But then Jamar Chase last week runs his mouth saying, "Oh, well, the classic wide receiver diva line. I'm always open. I'm always open."
Yeah.
But why is that not made a bigger deal out of? Why does he not want out of Cincinnati all of a sudden?
Because Diggs has done it before. That's why.
Touche.
I mean, that's reality.
No, that's a good point. I didn't think about it that way, but you're right.
So the last thing I want to hit here, and we're getting up against the clock here on our next segment, but I want to talk about the Cowboys and Niners. Again, another classic rivalry game that we've seen in the past. That's kind of, to me, it's the game of the week, really the highlight of the whole week.
I think so.
Two teams I hate, but this is going to be a one heck of a football game. The line is 4 in favor of San Fran and San Fran. To me, this is must-watch TV. Dallas just got embarrassed. They want to come back and show they're still in this mix. San Fran has looked just about unbeatable. What do you guys think happens Sunday night when we see these two teams square off?
You want to go first, Troy, or want me to go first?
I can. I mean,
go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
I was a little off, and I don't know where we are with Micah with the sacks right now, but I predicted him for the sack record this year. So that I was a little off on that.
I think Khalil Mack may have passed him up this
right.
Last week.
Anyway. But anyway, the reason I say that is I knew this defense was going to be good, and it took them a little bit when they lost Diggs there. Yeah, when they lost, not Quandre, Trayvon.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they lost Trayvon there late in that last week leading up in Arizona, I think that took a little bit of a hit in the team, and I don't think that gets talked enough about. That I think that might have kind of messed up them a little bit that week going into that Cardinals game. also, a lot of people, as we just talked about, are underestimating the Cardinals, and they're playing good ball. So, the Cowboys defense is going to keep them in this game. The 49ers look great, but they don't look like world beaters. I think the key here is, can they key in on McCaffrey and not let him beat them? Because he is just a monster. I never wanted the Bills to trade for a running back. If there was one guy they were going to trade for, that's who I wanted it to be right there, that guy there. He's just different.
Yeah.
He can do everything. He's a fast guy. He can run guys over. He's great out of the backfield. He knows how to pick up blocks just everything that guy does. He's worth every bit that a running back should get paid. Him being the top tier running. I don't know. Is he the top running back right now? Or I don't even know who is, but I think he is.
I believe he is. Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
And the other part of looking at this offense is George Kittle hasn't even gotten started this year.
Right.
Still have Brandon Ayuk. You still have Deebo Samuel. So you've got a lot in this offense.
That's a good point. So I don't know. I think the Cowboys going to hang in there, but I still see this is going to be like a field goal game in my opinion. And just because it's in San Francisco, I'm going to give them that field goal. I'm going to say 24-21 Niners.
Okay.
See, and I will say, as the football fan in me, is hoping that you're right, Troy. But I have very little faith in Dallas, and it kills me because I hate the Niners too. But I'm afraid that we're going to end up seeing, again, I hope not, but I'm afraid we're going to end up seeing the same game we saw last year in the playoffs when everybody was hoping for the rematch of the 1990s version of
classic rivalry, right?
Yeah, where wasn't it one of those games where Dion and Jerry Rice just started going at each other like the very first snap? Like those games were great games if you're a football fan. And I was hoping to see that last year in the playoffs, and it never came about. And I'm just afraid that the Niners, again, I hate to say it, but the Niners are, to me, way better than pretty much every other team in even the Eagles who are also undefeated. I don't see the Eagles competing with them this year the way they're playing the way both teams are playing right now, because the Eagles are still struggling. I'll say it's going to be about 34-24 Niners. I'm just not sure if it's going to be even that close. I think you might see like a 34-17, and then all of a sudden Dallas scores near the end to make it a little bit closer. I don't have any faith in Dallas to live up to the expectations that everybody is having for them for this game.
And for me, it goes back to Mike McCarthy. He's struggled with the Niners. He struggled with Shanahan. And it's just this game sets up poorly in that regard. To me, the guy I'm watching really is going to be Tony Pollard. I want to see him be what he's supposed to be for the Cowboys. And if he can get going, slow that game down, and make this thing more of a knockout, drag-out brawl, I think that favors the Cowboys with that defense that they have. But if they put this game fully in Dak's hands, I think this is going to go sideways quickly for Dallas, and it's going to get ugly. But I thank you guys for hearing me on that stuff, and I guess I'll throw it back over to Aaron for the rest of the way.
Well, yeah, no. And now everybody, for those that have watched it, and for those that watch the show on YouTube, or that'll be watching it later, a while back we had on both Adam and then Jordan Scavone. Jordan, I hope I didn't just butcher your last name there. I never asked you how to pronounce the last, but we had both of them on, and we were gonna try to start getting more into the wrestling and wrestling segments and things like that. I think we had talked about it, and Marco, I believe this next gentleman I'm bringing on, I believe he met Marco, if I know the story correctly, and Marco talked to him. But we'll ask David exactly how he found out about us as we bring him on here. David is a professional wrestler in training, and I'm just going to bring him right on, and that way he could tell us a little bit more about it. David, how's it going, buddy?
Hey guys, not bad. How about yourselves?
Good,
Great,
good.
Man. Thanks for joining us.
How do you pronounce your last name, by the way? I don't want to butcher that either.
Ray.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured.
Yeah. Everyone pronounces it Rhea.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. So okay, so yeah. Now, first of all, let me ask you for the story about how you found out about Dads with Bacon. Was it through our friend Marco, who normally is on our show?
Yeah, I posted in a dad's group on Facebook,
Okay.
and he commented and suggested reaching out to you guys
Awesome.
about like doing interviews and that to get my name out there for wrestling.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, absolutely. Because
Awesome.
we're well, and I will admit to you right away, David. And I don't know if Marco told you this. I am the least knowledgeable about wrestling in this whole group, so I'm not going to talk a whole. I'm going to kind of hand it over to Ben and Troy, who might have more questions. I shared some information, but why don't you give us a little bit of background on a little, like basically just recap what you told me in our chat and just kind of how you got into wrestling.
Well, I started training last year with a wrestler named Buck Gunderson. I'm 32, so pretty late getting into the game.
Sure.
All through like high school and that, I took drama, dance, all those kind of classes because it was like, oh, I want to be a professional wrestler. So it was like, oh, gotta be able to do all that kind of crap. And yeah, life got in the way. And yeah, at 32, found the school that was nearby and figured, oh, why not give it a shot? So far, right now, I'm currently training with Santino Marella from WWE. He's currently working for Impact Wrestling. I've had a couple of Battle Royal matches, a singles match at the Beaverton Fair up in Ontario.
Awesome.
Okay.
And where are you from, David?
I'm in Barrie, Ontario.
Okay.
All my matches so far has been in Beaverton.
Okay.
Which is about an hour north from here, which I'm about 2 hours north of Toronto.
Gotcha.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, so like when Impact Wrestling was in Toronto last for a pay-per-view there,
Yeah.
I was one of the backstage people helping out set up the ring, tear down the ring, all that fun kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
But you hear so many stories about
What was
that,
that
right?
like?
And that stuff. I mean, that stuff goes unlooked or unnoticed, but it doesn't go unnoticed by people in the back that see you doing that stuff. So you hear all them stories. So yeah, like Ben said, how was that?
It was a lot of work. Like when people think of the ring, they just think like it's all cushioning and all that. It's basically steel and wood.
Yep.
Like the frame is all steel. It's got plywood going across it, and then the thin mats. So we had to load everything out of the truck and stuff for the pay-per-view. For instance, they had boards of barbed wire on the wall of the truck on the inside. So having to avoid the barbed wire while pulling out these big, like 100-pound pieces of metal.
Nice.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very interesting putting it all together, seeing it all get set up from like behind the scenes point of view. Because there's a lot of work that goes into. There's a lot of people. Just the ring crew alone was 25 of us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, once you get the ring set up and stuff, do they give you guys an opportunity to work in it a little bit, or is that's not allowed at that point yet?
Yeah, we weren't allowed to go in the ring. We were able to like help like for the pay-per-view. A couple of guys who came down with me, they were on screen security and stuff along that. There was a hardcore match as the opener. So as soon as the match was over, we were the ones who had to go grab all the broken tables and ladders out of the way, take off the ring apron because of all the blood. So they had 3 ring aprons on it. So take off the top layer, roll it up before cameras cut back on. So you have about 45 seconds to get everything done.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Is there like training for that? Like, okay, here's what you got to do.
Well, me and the guys who went with me, it was our first time going. Most of the guys who are there are like really renowned Ontario wrestlers.
Okay.
A few of them wrestled for Ring of Honor when they came through and things along that. So they knew what they were doing. We just followed everyone else's lead.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So as far as what are the first things you learn when you go into wrestling school? Like, what's the first thing, the most important lesson you probably learn?
Like, do you mean like for in-ring training, important lesson?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, is it just how to take a bump, or is it what do they teach you?
Yeah, like taking a bump is very important because if you take the bump the wrong way, you can get seriously injured. Like even for starting off, just before every class, you do a bunch of different rolls
Mhm.
involving different ones that like gripping the back of your ankles while doing a somersault
Mm-hmm.
and having your arms out with your palm, back of your palm, front of your palms facing up. So depending on how you fall, you can fall in weird angles and kind of figure out how to catch yourself without seriously injuring.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
how did you feel after that first day taking bumps?
Well, the first time I went to a class, it was a seminar. The guy, he's currently wrestling as Rock Stonehard.
Okay.
And so it turns out he was in a bad mood that day because I met him last year during the summer,
Oh
and
no.
he had a few chops. So there's 10 of us in the class. He had us go in the corner and take 10 chops each to the chest.
Ooh.
Okay.
And then the next guy gave you 10 chops. So we took 100 chops and then
Oh
went to the
my
back of the
gosh.
line. We
Good
turned
Lord.
colors. Yeah, we turned colors I didn't know a human body could turn. My buddy came
Wow.
along with me to the class. He's never been since.
Well, and you know what? You hear them stories though, right? You hear that they are a little hard on you at first because they want to know that you're there because you want to be there. They don't want
Yeah.
somebody there looking for a free ride or somebody to get in there and somebody that doesn't respect the business or respect what people have been through to get to the position they're in. So they are a little rough on you at first. So that makes sense.
Yeah, like I've heard all those stories and that, so I figured, oh, that's just paying your dues. That's just what happens in wrestling class. I was the only one out of those 10 people who came back
Wow.
because
Wow.
they were all like, screw this, this sucks. And I was like, well, I can't lift my arms, but let's see next time. It'll get better.
Right. Well, and I think to your point before, you got the late start of 32. You've been through life a little bit. You know what hard knocks actually are in life, right? Life happens, and you've had to take those real life knocks. Sometimes the physical doesn't seem so bad, I guess, right?
Well, I've worked like physical jobs. I've worked warehouses and lumber yards. I'm currently at a septic tank place. So it's like, oh, I get to work out all day at work anyways. Might as well put it to something productive.
That's right.
So you mentioned going in there and getting those chops there and how feeling how you did, but what about that first time your back hits that mat? How does that feel?
Oh, you feel like it echoes through your back, especially when you take it wrong. Because the first time you take it, you don't know how to take it right.
You're not tucking your chin. You're not doing, and right. And your teeth probably rattle, right?
Oh yeah, you bite down and you just miss your tongue.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy to me that all these moves and stuff that these guys do, but still remembering the fundamentals like that so that they don't really seriously injure themselves because it could literally happen that quickly. And not tucking your neck the right way or not falling the right way or whatever it may be. When did you kind of really get into wrestling? Like, who were some of the guys that you looked up to that you were like, man, I really do want to do that. I enjoy this guy, really entertains me, and I want to do that for somebody else.
Well, it was back at the early 2000s when I started really getting into it. It was late 90s. I started kind of watching it. So it was guys like Mick Foley and Edge, Shawn Michaels, Eddie Guerrero. My current style is more as controversial as he is, Chris Benoit.
Right.
So like I use the crossface in that, just like he did. My comeback, I'm going to be using the triple German suplexes, but I'm going to be using a diving elbow instead of a diving headbutt.
Good call.
Much safer for myself long term.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree with that very much.
Well,
yeah, but
same thing too, right? It's that protect your head. It's one of those things you can't get back. And you scramble one too many times, you can't undo it. Elbows get surgery, brains don't. Not that way anyway. So, I guess as far as what's the first memory you have in wrestling that really just wowed you? Are you watching it, doing it? Like what made you fall in love with wrestling?
Well, like I remember it was like when I was young, like little. Like I've got figures from when I was younger in the early '90s that I don't remember too much from. And then same with I remember when they came out in WWF with The Rock and Undertaker checks. Even though I didn't know what a check was, I begged my parents to get them because I wanted the Undertaker checks. But then it was Rock when he was teamed up with Jonathan Coachman on when he was the commentary. That's what started drawing me in every week, watching him talk and seeing the guys actually compete.
Yeah. Were you really into the entertainment side of things, or was it the actual wrestling, the matches that pulled you in? Because I will tell you, when I would watch wrestling, the matches didn't really draw me in so much. I wasn't into all the psychology and everything of the match. It was more the stories and the promos and stuff like that always drew me in. That was always the exciting part to me. What did you enjoy most?
I'd agree with you on that. The promos and like the characters and that. That's why I figured in high school, well, all my friends were taking Comtech and Metal Shop. I was like, oh, I should take dance and musical theater.
Yep.
Because it's like, oh, you don't. Most people don't think of it. It's like, oh, you need to be able to be a character.
Have you? And you've mentioned that twice now, so I'll ask you: do you feel like that really helped you with where you are currently now?
For being able to remember everything, I'd say so. Like, for instance, my singles match I just had. We only went over the match one time all together, and then the rest of the time we just talked about it over, and it went very smoothly. We hit our timing properly and everything because of all of the years of dance and musical theater, and remembering my lines and remembering all of my movements. It was able to help regurgitate outwards.
I'll ask you one more question. I know Ben has a couple for you too that he wants to jump in on. How do you feel you're coming along with psychology and putting matches along? And is that Santino that's helping you with that?
Oh yeah, Santino, he's amazing for a teacher. Like, there's classes every Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm only able to make once a week. He teaches Wednesdays, so I make sure I go on Wednesdays with him.
Yeah, gotcha.
But
how do you feel? Like, are you really learning a lot? I mean, you're only in this a year, did you say? Is that what you said?
Almost 2 now.
Okay. How do you feel like your psychology is coming along? Are you starting to grasp some of those things, do you think?
I was very surprised at how well I am, because there's a few Battle Royals ago, it was a complete shit show. The guy who was running it, there's 2 guys running it. The one that they decided, because he had a singles match later, he's no longer going to be in it, so he's not running it anymore. And the other guy was just like, we're going to call it in the ring.
Oh, jeez.
So the other 13 people, because there's 15 of us all together, they were pissed. And so I just went over, grabbed a piece of paper, and I was like, okay, this person's going to win. And then I started going down from reverse order, who's going to be eliminated last to who's first, and we put the match together, and it was one of the better ones.
Royal match, the Battle Royal.
Yep. I was very, everyone was pissed. I was just like, I couldn't do that, unfortunately. I made sure I was in the final 3, though.
Go ahead, Ben. I think I kind of wore out my questions. I know you.
I mean, you're good. So I mean, it's one of those things that to me it's always fascinating looking behind the curtain, right? It's kind of that spot is you hear Bully Ray on Busted Open always talks about he who has the pencil has all the power. I mean, there's no more pole position than who has the pencil. So having moments of being able to really control things, and Troy is going down the same angle I want to go down. And it's the physical is one thing. You can find freak athletes who can just go out there and do things, but to be able to go out there and tell a story and then use our mouths to cut a promo effectively, especially in the indies, when you're in a room with 20 people, getting them to buy into it and shut up long to listen to you and buy what you're saying, that's a skill. And what do you have any memories for yourself cutting promos so far in your matches and your experiences that stand out, good or bad?
Well, I've only cut a couple of promos so far because I found mine so far to be horrible.
Okay.
So I've only posted a few on Instagram.
Okay.
But so far, they haven't been that bad, I've been told. So it's just myself being hard on myself. Because I've only been in the Battle Royals for the most part, because I haven't been greenlit. to have more single matches. Like my first singles match was against the owner of the wrestling school that I go to. So once I get greenlit, there's a team called Dynasty. So we're trying to build a feud against them.
Okay.
So I'm in the ring. I kind of had more one-on-one interactions with those guys to try and build the more physical. Like, hey, these guys are screwing me over, and getting into them more in the ring.
Sure.
And then my promos, I've been focusing on them.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I will volunteer myself and Marco as willing targets for all your promo practice. Feel free to cut loose on us on Instagram, X, or here all you want. We'll gladly be the butt of your jokes and your promos. Go nuts, brother. But as far as the rest of this goes, if you had to look at now, what for you? What's the goal? What are you said you got in this late in the game. What is your goal in wrestling? What's making it to you?
Well, my goal, I want to hold tag team gold somewhere.
Okay.
Like, if I can get a chance to be on TV, I'm not going to turn it down, obviously.
Right.
But being 32 and seeing what the young guys at like even 21, 22 that I'm training with can do,
right.
I'm not shooting for the moon. Sorry, excuse me.
You're good, man.
But my goal, I want to hold tag team gold somewhere and be able to go out and work because I've got a 5-year-old daughter.
Right.
So I figured, how can I tell her to follow her dreams if I didn't? So that's one of the things that made me start getting into the training because my goal was always to be a wrestler. So yeah, she's a big inspiration to what made me push to do this.
It's amazing what kids can do to man, isn't it? It'll change your world. So I guess the last question I really want to ask you here, if you don't mind, is what promotion are you working? You mentioned the school. What's the promotion you're working towards, and when are your shows, and what's the next live show you're doing?
Right now, I'm working for Battle Arts. It's in Beaverton. There's also a secondary school that they have in Mississauga.
Okay.
And yeah, they hold the shows the last Friday of every month.
Okay.
So the next one's going to be on the 17th.
Awesome.
Yeah, most of it's going to be Halloween and costume themed. So the Battle Royal is going to be everyone's going to be in different costumes.
Okay.
Nice.
Gimmick Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Now, do they, sorry, Ben, I don't mean to step on you, but since you brought it up, David, do you have, do they have a website? Is there like a YouTube channel or something that you guys broadcast on or not?
Yeah, they've been trying to keep up with their YouTube channel. It's Battle Arts.
Okay.
I believe it might actually be Beaverton Battle Arts.
Okay.
And that's their tag on Instagram as well and on Facebook.
Is that .ca, by the way?
Pardon?
Is that .ca or is that .com?
Oh, that's their YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook.
Okay.
They don't have like an actual website like for the one that I go to currently.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I found their website for the academy though. Okay. Gotcha. Awesome, man. Well, that's awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to answer the questions for me. It's fascinating. Hope you get that gold soon, and it's phenomenal to hear what a guy in the business, and it's just we really appreciate what you're doing because guys like myself, I take my son, and I can tell you right now that 9-year-old boy idolizes you guys. Like he thinks it's the coolest thing. He doesn't care if it's the local promotion or if it's WWE. He thinks it's awesome. So just know that we got your back, and we appreciate you guys.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. It's been great talking to you guys.
You take care. Best of luck, David. I don't know, Aaron. Are we still doing the free plugs on Wednesday? But if you want to jump onto the page, David, and post some of your matches or whatever on there to plug yourself and whatever, please do so.
Oh, will do. Thanks, you guys.
And let anybody else know, anybody that, I tell people, because I'm sure obviously the name probably throws people off. You don't have to be a dad to be a part of our group. So, if you got other guys, you talk about all the younger guys too, that are wrestlers that are going to the school and everything. They want to plug themselves. We have a huge wrestling fan base in our group. So, you know, and I'm sure they would love to, you know, follow you guys or you know what you guys are doing. So yeah, anytime you want to put something on, if you want to talk to the owner and let him know, you know, he can reach out to us. We'll plug the hell out of it. So.
Well, thank you for all the support, you guys. It means a lot.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Take
Absolutely.
care,
Brother.
best of
Take
luck.
care.
Take care,
All
David.
you guys do.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, so
That was
yeah,
awesome.
that was awesome. Yeah, I always love that stuff. So, well, anyway, you know, Ben, since you and Troy were, you know, where are you at as far as our rundown here? What else? I'll kind of throw it back to you guys.
Well, we didn't really review week 4 at all, but that's okay.
Well,
I guess we kind of jumped around. We got right into baseball talk because we knew you were coming on, and we knew if we didn't get it in right away, it wouldn't happen. So.
Well, you guys, you do realize unless you guys have somewhere important to go, yeah, the teacher isn't here today. So I mean, if we want to go over a little bit,
nice.
we can. I mean,
Oh.
that's up to you guys.
Our timekeeper.
Well,
no,
you know,
we love you, Brad.
The two things I really do want to hit on here before we go is I know we
Sure.
talked about it a lot earlier this year and kind of went through the playoffs, but the NHL season preview I think would be a fun one for us to transition into here a little bit. I know Troy coming off last year's Hershey Bears championship is also exciting, but the counterpart to that is for me being a Capitals fan, it's kind of exciting seeing some of those guys come up now and look at some making the roster this year as well.
Yeah.
So seeing the Capitals youth was kind of fun, but if you guys are okay with this, I want to kind of go through this a little bit, looking at what do we see for the season this year? What are you watching in the NHL? Again, I know we're not all aficionados in the NHL, but I guess if I can kind of start where I was going with this is that I look at I'll use the standings loosely here. But as far as teams I really want to see make that next step this year, the Edmonton Oilers are kind of the team I'm watching this year. I'm not an Oilers fan. I'm no skin in that game. But if there's one team I'm kind of like low-key cheering for, it's Edmonton Oilers. You know, seeing what they've got with Draisaitl and McDavid, I can't help but feel like, you know, they had the Gretzky legacy way back when. Now you've got McDavid, Draisaitl there. It just, you can see that time's slipping away. It's a matter of time for these guys to go to their next destination. And I really want to see Edmonton take that next step, not just to beat the Golden Knights, which we can all agree to hate, but also just to kind of get that next step of seeing that greatness for McDavid and Draisaitl. The other side of that one I know is, I wish we had Marco here for it. I talked a little bit about last week, is the Seattle Kraken, what they do here in their next season, and do they take a step forward, take a step back? What's that going to look like a little bit? The Colorado Avalanche, our team I follow, so what they can do. Overall, the Blackhawks now with Bedard kind of with their restart. There's a lot of interesting kind of storylines to track there. And looking at the Bruins last year after what was arguably the biggest disappointment, and even as a Brewers fan saying it to myself this week, the Bruins going through that record-setting season last year and then just falling on their face in the playoffs.
Yeah. I
mean, just to refresh everybody, 65, 12, and 5 last year, 135 points in the regular season. And they took some key retirements this past offseason. So what's going to happen there? The Maple Leafs seem to always be that storyline, are going to finally get over their bad luck streak. Again, they have that roster. The Lightning are kind of on the other side of the story here, looking at they're regressing. They're kind of at that end of the road right now, and they've got that roster that can still compete. Again, as a Green Bay sports fan, they still have Coach Coop down there, who's a former Green Bay Gamblers USHL coach. So it's fun to kind of cheer for him there, and been fun to see what he can do. But I know I'm flying all over the place on the NHL guys, but I'm excited to see the NHL season dropping the puck this next week.
Yep.
And and I'll fully admit, as a Capitals fan, I'm not real hopeful. I think that's going to be a tough season for us as Caps fans, but going to watch Ovi keep scoring goals, kind of see what the future looks like for us. We get some more of these, Calder Cup champion Bears coming up into the roster and see what they can do for us.
Yeah. Who do they have? Who do they have listed as their starting goaltender right now?
Well, Darcy Kemper is still a starter. I mean, the money's there. Kemper's going to start for him, unless that's kind of locked in regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to live and die by that. The hard part right now is there's a lot of money wrapped up in a lot of old pieces across the roster, and Nicholas Backstrom's part of that. TJ Oshie is kind of part of that. You go through. Evgeny Kuznetsov has said he wants out. He's 31. Again, phenomenal scorer. He sees that window closing in Washington. He wants to be part of a contender. I don't blame him. He won the cup with us, but he wants to be around something. The Caps did bring in Max Pacioretty, so another aging piece, but here he is. Matt Strome did have a good comeback year with us last year. Former big prospect. He's a younger guy, but he's with us now. Nick Dowd, 33 years old. He's one of our wings we're looking at. Probably the biggest disappointment, this is where I'm going to go ahead and hate on all the Red Wings fans and the Red Wings as much as I can. Anthony Mantha can go take a really long walk up a short dock. That guy has been the biggest disappointment for me as as a Capitals fan, in the absolute fleecing we took in that trade, trying to bring him over to score for us. And he's been nothing but horrible. It's then going even to our defense a little bit. We've got John Carlson's kind of at the end of his rope here. So all in all, I'm looking at, like I said before, a very, very much aging roster. And I don't see a lot of – it's going to be a tough year for me as a Capitals fan. I think we might contend for that 7 or 8 seed in the playoffs, but this is not a team I'm putting a lot of faith in to go make a deep playoff run.
Is there any chance, I don't know if you know what I'm going to ask you, is there any chance that Ovechkin gets moved at all?
No, there's none. I said it would take Ovi asking for it, and he won't. I mean, that's kind of he's committed to being that capital player for life. I think it's kind of like Sidney Crosby.
Mm-hmm.
He'd sooner retire than walk away from the team. It's that he's so entrenched in DC, in the Capitals as a whole. I mean, I could see Ovi moving to the front office before he moves teams. It's just not a guy. As a Packers fan, I'm used to seeing those big names go. Ovi's not one of those names who's going to go. So I think there's.
Just wondered, like, if getting towards that trade deadline and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to make a push to get into the playoffs, do they possibly look at trying to recoup anything for some of their aging guys that I don't know who. I mean, there's got to be somebody that they'd be looking to move, right? Any guesses on who?
Yeah. There's a ton. I think you've seen Nick Dowd get moved this year. If they can get something for Oshie, I think Oshie gets moved. They get anything for Mantha, Mantha gets moved. Tom Wilson could be moved. John Carlson could be moved.
Okay.
Joel Edmondson, I could see on the move this year. Nick Jensen, Trevor Van Riemsdyk. If they can get something for Darcy Kemper, I could see them kind of clearing house outside of Ovi, just kind of getting that and letting Ovi be that player manager more or less. But I think Ovi's the only untouchable on that entire roster right now as far as what the Capitals are doing. Now, to that point, your Sabres, switching gears a little bit, I think are an interesting destination for Kuzi if that move were to happen. If you get that kind of playmaking, scoring center to go into that Sabres lineup, I think he'd be a really good fit. As a guy who can really make a difference with a young team and kind of show some of these guys really how to take that next step. So Dylan Cousins could learn a lot from him, take that next step forward too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I'm not a Sabres aficionado by any stretch, but that's kind of, if I'm looking at this as a hockey fan, I wouldn't hate seeing him go there.
I mean, anything they can do, but I think the whole downfall to them last year was that stinking goaltending. They just could not find goaltending when they needed it last year. So I'm curious how Devin Levi is going to be, because that looks like that's who's going to be their starter this year. That's who's going to, they're going to put everything behind at this point. I mean, they had who's the goalie they had that ended up going to Boston and part of the who was the backup goalie last year with Boston?
I don't know. I know you guys have Craig Anderson and Eric Connery this year to back up.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. Whoever it used to be the Sabres goaltender, and they moved on from him. And I was just like, this guy's going here, and all of a sudden he's having this outstanding season. And but anyway, my point is, it's just like as a Sabres fan, ever since I got into
Oh,
hockey,
no.
which was probably around 90, there's always been
Yeah.
solid goaltending in Buffalo.
Right.
Whether it was Hasek, and then you had moved on to Ryan Miller, and then the last few years there's just no goaltender there. So I want to see them get back to a dominant goaltender, because a hot dominant goaltender can win you the cup. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, look at Varlamov last year.
Yep.
The Panthers. I mean, the Panthers that barely snuck in, who just got by the Sabres by 1 point to get into that spot. They just went on this run because Varlamov got hot, and I just want to see. I want to see what Devin Levi can be, and I also want to see if Tage Thompson can echo the season that he had last year, because that was amazing. He was a lot of fun to watch.
And I guess the not sleeper, but team I'm kind of watching in the East in general is the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm supposed to hate these guys, but they're so much fun to watch. They play hard. They can score. They hit you.
How about the Devils?
You know, the Canes have my attention, and that's kind of that spot where I mean, again, as a Capitals fan, I'm supposed to hate their guts, but I have a hard time hating them. They're a fun team to watch. Now,
What do you think of the Devils?
I'm sorry?
What do you think of the Devils?
I can't cheer for anything in Jersey.
I didn't say you had to cheer for them. I said, what do you think of them?
Well, unfortunately, that's my answer too. Is they're too darn good, and that's kind of my regretful response. The Devils are going to be right there. This is a talented squad.
It's kind of crazy because they kind of came up out of nowhere, right? Boom.
But Dougie Hamilton in that defense is that he's 30 years old and he's one of their oldest players. I mean, they're a young team that's put together and they're built to win for a while. So I'm just looking at this, and it's the Devils are. I hate seeing the only team that I'll cheer for the Devils. Not just the only team, but one of those people I'll cheer the Devils against is like the Rangers and the Islanders. I hate all three teams so much. It's like New York teams and LA teams. Can't stand them. But anyway, thanks for humoring me on the NHL. That's one reason to that is we get the season started and we got a long marathon of the season in front of us, but. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see some hockey hitting again, and I don't know, just some good tight 2-hour action. As it were.
Yeah, and it's really what's really cool too is I've the last couple baseball games and stuff have been on ESPN, the postseason games and such, and you're starting to see commercials for the NHL and ESPN, and there's something about that just takes me back to my heyday when I first started getting into hockey. And the hockey commercials and promos that would be on, and what was it, Hockey Night, and was it like Wednesday Night Hockey or something like that? I think it was. I don't remember, but something about that. I love that nostalgia. I love it.
When I was a kid, when Fox had those hockey games, and that's when you had like the Red Wings Avalanche series that were always a huge thing. And that puck tracer. And as a kid, I thought it was the coolest thing. That stupid robot they still use on Fox until Sunday.
Yep.
It just got me so excited about hockey. You as a 10-year-old kid, that was the neatest thing. But and now don't be wrong, NBC hockey just it gets my blood just pumping. Man. I hear that music, and even playing NHL games, you see the broadcast, you're like, man, let's freaking go! Like, I'm ready for some freaking hockey.
I agree. And I'm going to switch gears here on you real quick because you just brought something up that made me. Think of something else and go back to hockey. We're going to go back into football here. The Toy Story game.
Yeah.
Did you guys get a chance to watch that at all? What did you think? What do you think of the idea? All that.
Go ahead, Ben. I didn't get a chance to watch it, so I was gone all morning.
So I watched a little bit. I love the idea. I'm not the target audience. It's not for me.
Exactly.
But I love the idea. I look at Slime Time Nickelodeon games they had before. Mm-hmm. We talked about it, I think, last week, the week before here as well. And I know Aaron and I had to talk about it a little bit too. The demographics overall for watching live sports, it's frankly us. The younger generation is not watching sports like we did. And, it's my son's spoiled. The kid can watch any game he wants. Like 10-year-old me would have been like, I would probably die of
absolutely
joy.
Yeah.
But I don't care who was playing it. If it was any sport, I watched it.
Yep.
My son is like, I can try and teach him all I want watching sports. He learns more playing Madden, playing 2K23, playing FIFA than he will sitting down and watching a game. He gets so impatient or frustrated. And so I'm like, at least he's playing and he's enjoying it. But this is where I've had more insight, seeing why Ultimate Team matters, why Slime Time and why Toy Story games matter, is because it gets their attention. Where my daughter will watch a Toy Story game and think it's the coolest thing ever. Where still kind of coming out of the room during a normal game, like, whatever. But you put Woody on the screen, it's the coolest game ever. It's I can appreciate the effort, I can appreciate the thought, and trying to reach a demographic that's generally not interested right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I totally agree 100% with what you just said there. I think it's a great idea to get these people, and whoever just mentioned that, I'm not sure who that was, but yeah, that's the idea, to get these kids involved in football that maybe aren't into it, or maybe they just watch cartoons, or maybe they just watch YouTubers or whatever it is. And now you're bringing this other audience in here and introducing them to the game. And they were breaking it down really simple, explaining what players are trying to do, what their jobs are. I love the idea of having Slink Dog as the first down marker. That was amazing. What a brilliant idea. Like, the aliens with the claw to mark the ball down. It's just very ingenious stuff. Now, they did have a few bugs. There was a few glitches. There was at one point, I think midway through the first quarter, where their graphics or stuff weren't working right, so they were just focused on the announcers for a while. But just it's a really good idea. I hope they continue to roll with it and try to get some younger kids that might not know much about football or live sports or anything like that involved. The one thing I think I would like to see as well is maybe a way to, every once in a while, like maybe have something up in the corner of the screen or something where it shows the real game, just to kind of show kids that this isn't just a cartoon on the field, that these are actually real games going on or something, just to kind of let them see the comparison.
No, I agree with you on that. I think that it would be interesting to go the next route is showing it like it's Madden, like having the game live like it's Madden. Stuff like that. I think it'd be interesting to try and have the feeling where it's.
If only we had the G4 channel yet.
Well, but the deal will go up. But
love
I think
that
there's
channel.
value though, and this is where I think what this generation is missing too, is while we complain about it, John Madden doodling across our entire screens on showing us all the plays.
Yep.
The X's and O's being put on the screen to show us what does cover 2 mean.
Mm-hmm.
Show them. What does it mean to have a trap play?
Yep.
Show me the X's and O's. That's going to teach the kids. So we're not going, because not every kid plays Pop Warner. Not every kid plays high school football.
Yeah.
And again, Aaron and I talked about this last week too. If you don't play, you're going to learn from Madden, or you're going to learn from commentators.
Yep.
So teach people that what's going on. So I talk about with my dad, because he did not grow up a baseball fan, did not grow up a basketball fan, and a lot of us didn't know what's going on. And a lot of American sports fans don't like soccer because they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Once people know what's happening, because in the South, what I dealt with was they like the idea of hockey. You're hitting, you're scoring, great, but they have no freaking clue what anything means. So the more
you don't even know what ice is.
Right. Well, right. or literally the comment was, that just looks cold. I'm like, well, yeah, but like go through all this and give them a chance to actually understand what they're watching.
Yep.
And suddenly it's not just this weird sport. Now it's beautiful again. You can actually see a sport that's not, and that's why, and I'm sorry I'm talking a long time, guys. I'm almost done, I promise. But my daughter is in dance right now. And the first thing I asked my wife, she performed at the halftime show of the 8th grade football game. I'm like, what am I watching? Like, what are the key points? What makes this good or bad? Because again, me, the sports fan, like if I know what I'm watching, I can enjoy it and I can appreciate it. If I don't know what I'm watching. Sure. So that's all I've said. My big example here is teach people what they're looking for, and it'll make these things better. And that's why I like the Toy Story game.
That's a good point, Ben, because how many times have I watched the Olympics or whatever on TV, and I'm like, well, that looked like a good dive. What was wrong with that? Mm-hmm. And then they get this poor score or whatever, and I'm like, well, that looked good to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a classic example of why I'm not like, hockey, I follow more in the playoffs. But even that, back when I was growing up, like I basically watched whatever my dad watched. That's so it was basically obviously football and then baseball and basketball. He didn't watch hockey, and the reason he watched hockey is because way back, back then, I mean, we're talking like the 80s. All they did, at least according to my father, was all they do was fight.
Yeah.
Like you literally, I mean, they've cleaned that up a lot.
Sure.
Because back then my dad would be like, well, I thought I was watching a hockey game, but now it turns out I'm watching a boxing match. I don't really know what it is. I mean, they did it constantly. And, and so I never grew up watching hockey, but, the older I get, it's like I enjoy the sport, but I still, to be honest with you, am a little I know what icing is, but why you can't do it, I don't really get. And the same with soccer. There's things in soccer, like the whole idea of continued time. Like, why? Like, what is the point? Why don't you just stop the clock when there's a stoppage of play? Like, I don't get that. And then you don't really see it, so you have no idea how much additional time goes on after the 90 minutes is played.
Just
like,
whatever the referee says is
exactly,
right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And so you're like, okay, I want to feel like there's a sense of urgency here, but I have no freaking clue because I don't know how much time is going to be added on. So it's stuff like that. And I mean, there's other stuff with soccer. I just, to me, and I know it's about strategy, but I feel like you're kicking half the time in the middle of the field, and like they forgot they have to score a goal. I don't know, So that's and I know Ben, I know you're a big soccer fan. So
he's fighting his lip right now.
Look, but here's the counterpoint: soccer fans watch football and say there's all they do is have meetings.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, why did they stop? Why did they play for 2 seconds and then go back and go into huddle again? Yeah,
Didn't we talk about? I think we talked about that one time here on this show about how like there's actually, if you figure out how much time
is played
on the like on an NFL and during an NFL game, it's only like actually 10 minutes or something like that, which I just find crazy. I could understand where I don't think that's a made up number, but yeah, I guess I could see where people who are soccer fans would find the NFL, boring or whatever.
No, I agree. And the funny thing, the thing that comes to my mind when you say, specifically when you're talking about like, oh, well, let's add time to the end of the game because there was this much time for an injury or this much time for whatever. Like, to me, the first thing that pops in my mind is, well, holy shit, easy way to fix a game. If you need to fix a game, let's just add a couple extra minutes here at the end of the game so this guy can come back and tie it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's where you see a lot of this too goes back into the arguments now is with VAR, and that's where Jurgen Klopp in Liverpool are pitching their fit right now. Suck it, losers, you lost. But anyway, there's soccer, and again, I get it's not for everybody. I'm not going to keep pitching that right now, but
I enjoy watching it when there's a reason for me to watch it, and typically that's the Olympics or the World Cup, and that's usually about it.
And that's where I go. So part of what I'm going to do, and I've suspended my show for a little bit, and I'm trying to reformat what I'm doing to try and create interest. I kind of see where right now what I need to do is help generate interest by explaining. And part of how I'm going to do this is I'm going to try and get people on who are involved in the sport to help people hear why does it matter to them, what attracts them to it. And I explained the first episode a little bit. For me, it's what got me into soccer was literally killing time with my daughter. My daughter was an infant. My wife sleeps in. And the only thing on in the morning at 6:30, 7 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday morning for sports was soccer. And so I was like, okay, I'll watch soccer. I picked a team and I clung to them because I'm a man. That's what we do when we torture ourselves. And so I 100% like cue Tim Allen, like grunting. I pick a team and I've tortured myself since then. But doggone it, I love them. Come on, you Spurs. Like, it's one of those things that we do. But to your point, Troy, if there's not a rooting interest, you're just watching dudes run around a field.
Yeah.
And that goes for any sport. But
sure.
No, I would love to be able to be a part of helping educate fans on what they're watching, whether it be wrestling, whether it's anything. It's just the education of what you're seeing. And this is where I go to my wife as well, so she can watch dance. And I'm like, how in the hell can you watch this? This is absolutely like mind numbing to me. That they're dancing for what? They hear music, congratulations, I can dance too, like whatever. But like but they like it. Good for them. I'm happy for them. It makes them joy. But I don't know. Anyway, I've gone down the rabbit hole too far, and I apologize, guys.
No, that's okay. I like that you the Tottenham there. I like that you guys brought that up there because I can tie this back into football here again real quick because the London game, that's where this is going to be. It's going to be in Tottenham Stadium. So
yeah,
and that's supposed to be the Bills' model for their new stadium that's opening, I think, in 2026, if I'm correct. It's supposed to be the model that they're using for their new stadium. So I'm really excited to see that and see how the field lays out.
It's gorgeous, man. It's as far as like sightline, and again, I've not been there, but as far as like to watch it from a TV viewing standpoint, gorgeous stadium, beautifully laid out, and it's very aesthetically pleasing. As far as what I can tell from the engineering of it as well, very fan friendly to where like you're going to protect the fans more from the elements too, which should make it more enjoyable for Buffalo fans to not be as tortured while still making players play in the elements. So it should be a very good combination.
From what I saw from the design, I think like the top level and such is going to have the roof over it, but around the field itself, it will still be open to the elements. So the people that are right up on the field will still be in the elements, but everybody kind of like second level and back will still be under the element or under the roof. So
that's right. Yeah, and with that, you have screens everywhere, so you can see what's going on. You have that visibility, but no, it's great. I mean, again, great drainage, very well maintained field, but no, it's very, very neat. And again, going into club history, I won't bore you guys too much of that before, but it's neat seeing the stadium evolution that we've seen both in the States as well as in England. From what they've gone from what they're going to, it's very neat. And I'm a sucker for engineering when it comes to stadiums like that.
Yeah, cool. I love to watch all that stuff too. I'm really excited to see that. I at first I was kind of hoping they would go with some sort of retractable roof or something like that. And I guess I'm thinking of the team right now, right? Because they're a high passing team and you want to do everything you can to protect that team. But let's face it, like, 10, 12, 15 years from now, whatever it is, till Josh Allen's not there anymore, what are they going to be then? Are they going to be, you know what I mean? Are they going to be a defense team? Like you got to use the elements that you live in. You have to use that to your advantage somehow or some way.
Yeah. Well, part of what makes sports great though is identifying with your fans. In Buffalo, Green, if you're not using what you're in, this is part of why I hate Minnesota. You idiots play inside. Like you are from Minnesota. Nut up, Buttercup, and go outside and play some ball. Like it's baseball's different. Like baseball, you can literally stop a game because of it. Football is football. Learn to run the stinking football. Learn to block somebody and get outside and play some football. And it's I can, and again, I signed the old codger that way, I guess, to get off my lawn, old man. But I truly do. Like I feel strongly about that. Where it's like if we're a blue collar town, have a blue collar stadium that's for what the game is. You can have the amenities, can be nice, you can have the luxury suites, no problem. But the game should still represent the fans. If you want to be hoity-toity LA, fine. Be in whatever that's supposed to be. But I definitely having Green Bay be Green Bay. And again, Aaron, my great conversation before too. It's looking at what's happening on Lambeau. It's not what I grew up with. It's not bad, but it's not what I grew up with.
Yeah.
And I miss being able to, you literally felt like you were walking down, descending into a bowl of cigarette smoke, tailgate smoke, blasting music, and just like, it was Americana, man. Like you could smell the meat, you could smell everything. It just felt like Packers football.
You gained 10 pounds walking to the stadium.
Well, I'm pretty sure you got lung cancer walking to the stadium.
That too, yeah.
But I shouldn't joke about cancer. I'm sorry, guys. But no, but in all seriousness, it's just one of those things that those pieces that were missing that used to be there in that old aluminum can we used to call Lambeau Field. Those things were special to us, and that's some of those pieces that identity we're missing when you have less and less tailgate space, more and more corporate identity here. Again, it's the modern thing. There's still this tailgate space. We still can do our thing, but it's just little pieces of my childhood keeping chipped away and taken away that I'm hoping to try and preserve for my kids and the next generation however we can.
So
no, I agree. I think teams should represent where they're from and the people that live there and what their community is all about. And yeah, I the more, like I said, the more and more I thought about it, I'm on board. Let's have the open roof and let's enjoy the elements.
And guys, I'm stone sober tonight, so imagine if I've been drinking tonight. This is me. This is pure Ben tonight.
Well, that's okay. Well, I guess we could. I mean, if you guys are ready, we can go into our closing question here that Ben so graciously graced us with here.
Well, was there one other thing you wanted to talk about, Ben, or do you want to just go right into the question? That's either way, it's fine with me.
Yeah, I think we're good right now. I think college football as a whole. I mean, I'll quickly hit this, and I'll give Troy his flowers real quick, because he'll want to hail his glorious victors for a second. But I will right now say that my pick for the Big Ten is Michigan right now. Looking at what they're doing, they look the best in the conference, and I'll give them that. I think Penn State's their one really big hurdle. I'm
honestly a little worried about Maryland too, Ben.
That's what I was just going to mention. I think that this weekend, Ohio State and Maryland is kind of the game to watch in the corner of your eye. That could be that this is where Maryland has to kind of show, if Maryland wins this game, that's their coming out party. That's Maryland saying we are now a Big Ten East team and we're going to be around. It's Tullio's been here now for however many years. You've got Mike Loxley's been there, well coached. This is the best looking Maryland team they've had. This is the game. Ohio State looks beatable, but no, I think that overall Michigan looks to me to be the best squad in that side of the conference. And
I agree, and I'm I live in Pennsylvania, so all I ever hear is the Penn State people. So and it's so weird. That's most of the teams that I started following. It's because I just picked somebody because I never liked to root for the home team. I don't know why. That was just me. I never liked to do that. So I remember literally the way I became a Sabres fan was because my cousin was a Phillies fan, and he was watching the Phillies. They just happened to be playing the Braves that night, and I'm like, well, I'm going to root for the Braves because I'm going to root against my cousin. That's how or I'm sorry, not the Phillies, the Flyers. So I'm going to root against the Flyers tonight, and so they were playing the Sabres, so that's who I rooted for.
Screw it, Lindros.
Yeah. This might have been, what year was he drafted? It might have been before he was there even. I don't even know. But
was it early 90s? It was 94?
Yeah, it was like 90, 91, something like that. Yeah, but it was right around that time frame.
Like John LeClaire.
Yep.
Eric Desjardins. Yeah. But anyway.
So I mean that, and then with Penn State, I mean that was kind of another reason. But I mean, I think we talked about this when we got into college football previews or something, talking about our teams. So like Desmond Howard was the guy that kind of drew my attention to Michigan. I loved it. The winged helmet, that kind of drew me in. But then my fandom really kicked in. And as I told you guys before, was when Charles Woodson came. That guy just changed the face of college football to me. That was really cool to see this guy playing on both sides of the ball. It was a throwback. It seemed like he always made a big play to keep his team in the game, even if they weren't playing the best. And that was like, from that moment on, I was just like, okay, this is my team. I'm big into Michigan at this point. So that being said,
don't look now. The Bears just scored again. It wasn't.
Yeah, I seen that. And Washington almost made this a game. It was right there.
The Bears almost did it again, but oh well. Yeah,
whoever has DJ Moore, they're lighting it up tonight.
Yeah.
But
I hope you didn't sit him.
Yeah, right. Quick call outs for this. To that Maryland point. Maryland might be the most underrated team in the country right now for me. Looking at what we have, I'll throw out Kentucky and Missouri as being teams that have played very well that I need to look out for. Kansas is right there as well for me as teams that I think are playing exceptionally well. I think Oklahoma's going to wake up call this weekend, and I will eat a little crow here, as I've done almost every week the last 2 weeks in some side of form, because I'm a man of my word, and I will say when I'm wrong. Bama fans, I apologize. I've been wrong a few times with you guys now, but I will maintain this position. Y'all are still losing 2 more games this year. May not be 4, but y'all losing 3 games this year. Milroe is not that good, and neither is that Bama defense. So fall tide. I'll eat my crow. You guys won the games you've won, but Bama, you can fall and fall hard. But anyway, that's my half-hearted eating crow on Bama.
Wow, interesting.
Your apology, not apology. Is that what it? Yeah.
Look,
sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, screw it.
I mean, yeah, it will be nice to get some new blood in there finally. I mean, Bama just missed out last year, even though Saban lobbied as hard as he could at the end of the year there before the playoffs were announced.
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan's been there 2 years now in a row. It finally feels like they got over the Ohio State hump. I'm excited to see if that rivalry comes back because it was awesome. Like the way I remember it, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are Big Ten guys as well, but it always seemed like Ohio State was rolling. Michigan would have an early loss somewhere in the season that would always mess their season up. Ohio State's going 11-0, whatever, 10-0. They get into the Michigan game at the end of the year, and Michigan beats them and messes up their chances for a college championship, whatever it was back then. However they did that stuff.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden we get into 2000s and Ohio State just owned Michigan. I don't know what it was. They might have won 15 out of 18 games or something like that until Michigan finally broke that a couple years back. So I as much as I love owning Ohio State, don't get me wrong, I do want to kind of see it go back and forth at some point again because that makes it fun.
Well, yeah, but you can own them a few more years.
I'm okay with that.
I'm kind of enjoying it. As a Badger fan, obviously I don't like Michigan or Ohio State, but I hate Ohio State a hell of a lot more. I hate Michigan, at least for me. I don't know, Ben, how you feel, but I hate Ohio State a lot more.
Let Ryan Day keep his job, so I don't want us to lose Fickle too quickly. That's the one job we can lose Fickle to. So I go ahead and let Ryan Day keep his job, but yeah, that's kind of the I don't know.
Fickle was the DC under Tressel. Is that right?
That sounds right. I'm losing my mind, but that sounds right.
Or was it under Urban?
I don't know. You won't catch me in line. I don't know.
I'm just curious because I don't know why. How did Day get promoted right away and like they didn't even give Fickle a look? I didn't understand that.
Well, Fickle has already gone. Because
here's the thing. I didn't think Ryan Day did anything to earn that job. Now, obviously, I don't know what goes on inside that building and such. Yeah. But it was like Urban Meyer got, one of his things where he decides he doesn't feel good. He doesn't want to coach, whatever, the thing that he does everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Ryan Day is the guy they go to like that. I don't know. It didn't seem like he earned it.
Well, was that something where Urban? I mean, that's happened before with the Badgers too, where Bo Ryan decided that he was going to coach one more year, and then maybe a month into the season, all of a sudden he decides, I'm going to retire just so that Greg Gard got the job because
Shaka Smart got his job somewhere else and was like, okay, there's the Texas job, the Marquette job. It was okay, now I can get my guy in here.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if that wasn't a little Urban Meyer saying, give Ryan the job, or whatever. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
mean, maybe, I don't know. I guess that stuff goes on, because there's that's even what happened, Duke, with Krzyzewski. He picked his guy. I don't.
It's all egos, guys. We know that coaches got egos. They want their guy to replace them. They want things to be done their way,
but should it be their choice?
It shouldn't be, but it is.
No, yeah,
and that's the nature, especially in college football. I mean, you go through boosters have their boys, and they rub elbows, and boosters think they're special because they talk to coach, and coach gets in their ear, and then all of a sudden, coach's guy is the booster's guy, and that's how you get these situations happening. It's not saying it's right, but that's what things are, and I think that's where what you'll see now, which is what Coach Prime might be changing here. And yes, guys, I'm actually have to take this not anti-prime for a second. He might be breaking that system a little bit where you have a guy who's he's not anyone in Colorado's dude. That's evident. He's his own guy.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not going to – my comparison to Donald Trump begins and ends here. It's not – it's the idea of that shape of being a radical difference in terms of how he comes across, the way he presents himself, and being polarizing. And that's the comparison I'm making, is that difference maker who's going to make you're going to love him or you're going to hate him. And it's going to create that ripple effect to create polarizing feelings in the community and in the world to kind of have that, to shift something. It'll create polar changes in multiple directions and every way around it. So that's why I think you'll see if Colorado does turn this thing around and win the Big 12 in the next 3 years, you might see some more of these really weird shifts. If all of a sudden Colorado gets big business following Prime and the state of Colorado booms with big business moving there, other states might follow suit and saying, hey, the legislature going to tell the university you're hiring Joe Blow who can get all his NIL deals into our university and get these recruits here so we can pay them through the nose and get our businesses here. It's business is more than ever deep into universities. And I shouldn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
It's more blatantly in universities more than ever. And it's going to be, and Prime is the poster child of this. So
do you think there's any chance, one of two things with Prime, and I know we're getting long here, guys, so we'll probably start wrapping up here pretty soon, but do you think there's a chance that A, he tries to move on to a bigger program, or B, steps into the NFL as a coach?
I don't see the NFL.
Yeah, I don't see that either.
I think Prime makes more money in college. I think that Deion can do his thing in college. He can be him.
Mm-hmm.
In the NFL, there's too much. There's politics in college, don't get me wrong, but that's kind of where Colorado's a good fit for him. He kind of got turned away by the bigger boosters, the bigger pieces, and he can kind of give them the big old bird and do his thing here. And if he wins a title there, college football will be Deion's world. And that's our reality. And that's part of why I'm so hard against it, is we don't need college football being owned by primetime. That's not good for the sport. It's just not. But I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a top 5 pick when he comes out in the NFL draft. I think he has shown that he's an exceptional player that will be a very good NFL quarterback. He can throw, he can run, he will do well. Shiloh Sanders will be a very good NFL cornerback. I've seen that so far. Travis Hunter could be the Shohei Ohtani of the NFL when he comes out.
Yeah.
There's pieces here that he has taken with him that what I'll give Prime is when he said he is bringing his baggage just Gucci. He's not wrong. Those 3 dudes can play. So I think there's pieces here that are there is good with the bad. As much crap as I talk about Coach Prime, and he can keep. By the way, Prime, keep my receipts. Go ahead and talk about me at DWB Big Ben. Go ahead and at me. It's listen, Prime, bring it. But
now Travis Hunter though, like that. What is he? Is he a sophomore? And the only reason I ask that is because, like, obviously that dude's talented, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He had to have other offers than to go to Jacksonville State, or where was he? Jackson State, whatever it was.
Jackson State, yeah.
Yeah. Like, what?
That's Prime, though.
Yeah, that's Prime.
That's what it was?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No, he was well documented as having other offers. That was like he was SEC recruited heavy. He wanted to play for Prime. That was very well documented.
Yeah.
So
that's just insane to me.
Well,
Like,
it's that star power, though. I mean, it is that star power, and Deion is one of those few guys that literally. Now, I don't know anything about his high school, career, but he's backed up his talk wherever. Like, you could say what you want about Deion, and he's a little too, too not in your face, but just a little too flamboyant, a little too. Flamboyant is probably not the right word either, but I mean,
arrogant.
He's arrogant, cocky,
flashy,
confident, flashy, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But one thing that I feel like we always say to our athletes is, if you're going to talk, you better back it up. And that dude's backed it up everywhere he's been. I mean, so you have to give him credit for that. And you got these young black kids, and even white. I guess I shouldn't even bring up race, but you got young black kids who, I mean, they would, do anything to play for a guy like Deion Sanders. And some of them may not have even seen the guy play. That's the crazy part. Like, some of these kids are probably too young to even necessarily have seen him, in his prime, pardon the pun, but but their dads saw him, and their moms and dads saw him, and say, maybe show him video, and like, this guy did this, and this. He played baseball in the major leagues. He played football. He's a Hall of Famer in football. I mean, hell yeah, I'd want to play for him.
But that's where you see Dion that's when he got so pissed and I said he wasn't swag. He's like, how am I not swag? Like it's one of those things that he was Florida State, but Dion took pride in being at Jackson State. And I mean, again, I was down there when this all happened. I mean, I remember this stuff happening very well. And look, guys, there's no sugarcoating this. Jackson is a shithole. Like, it is a garbage city. But he came there, and Jackson State's a proud program for good reason. Their band's phenomenal. They've got good things going that way, but it is underfunded. Oxford and Mississippi State get way more money, even though they're right there in the capital, because it's that historically black college, or whatever you want to say it is. But Dion got there. He got Dion there, and he did things for that university. So, again, as much as I hate on crime, he did some good things for Jackson State University, and he's doing good things for Colorado. But talk about wrapping it up. My question for this week, I posted on the group, and I want to ask you guys the same question. I know, Troy, you got your Swifty lean here, but what is more accurate for us as dads when we look at things on social media? Girl math, or wives claiming that Taylor Swift is saving Travis Kelce's career? Troy, go ahead and lead us off, buddy. What do you think?
I think this Taylor Swift saving Travis Kelce's career. Maybe I'm naive. I think the girls are just doing it to be funny. Like, I don't think there's any. Yeah. The girl math thing scares me because I think they believe that. So that's why I'll go with the girl math thing, because I can totally see them falling into that trap and thinking everything about, I returned this item, and if I buy something with the returned item money, then I didn't spend anything, so I just basically got that for free. I can see them thinking that or justifying that in their mind. I have a hard time believing, even if they're not football fans, they know football is a very popular sport, and they know that Taylor Swift did not come into the NFL and all of a sudden this guy has blown up. And now he did gain a few 100,000 followers after that, though, didn't he?
Oh yeah. I think he gained 300,000 followers in like a 24-hour period, and his jersey sales increased like 500%. I mean, the Swifty economy is definitely a real thing. I mean, the benefits are there, but I would say the girl math is. What was the question again, Ben? What was more annoying? Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely the girl math. I mean, I would agree with Troy in that. I think Swifties, especially, I mean, those that are definitely now, Troy, this isn't a shot at Lily. Okay. I don't want to, but I think Swifties, for the most part, I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I said, they can be, okay. Now, can be being the main thing here, on the same level as LeBron James fans, in the sense that, like, you don't, like, I would, every time somebody says they dislike Taylor Swift, okay, the question I want to ask them is, okay, do you dislike her or do you dislike her fans? Which is it? Same with LeBron. Like, I'm not a LeBron James fan. First of all, I wish he'd retire. I kind of like I wish Brady would, retire for the longest time. But with LeBron, he's not a bad guy. I mean, he's not out there beating his wife or abusing his kids or, getting in trouble. He's a good human being. He's helped put a lot of young black men and women through college. I mean, he's done a lot of great things. Sometimes his political stuff gets annoying to me, which I could say the same thing for Taylor Swift sometimes when she says stuff. But for the most part, they're both good human beings. I think Taylor is very, like, she strikes me as somebody who's very genuine, who's like, she literally, I feel like, as big as she is after her, throughout her 16-year career, I really feel like she isn't a whole lot different now as a person than she was when she started, when Troy was going to see her, sing at country music festivals. Like
At the Pat Garrett Amphitheater in Raresburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly. I just think that there are some times that like her fans, and again, not all of them, will say things on social media that just really get under people's skin. And LeBron James fans are the same way. Like you'll say something about Michael Jordan, and the first thing, like, it's like they're coming out of underneath the rocks, like, and just ripping on you. You're like, okay, just shut up, all right? I didn't, and that's the same thing. But go ahead.
So I've got a little confession to make here.
You're a Swiftie.
Well, yeah, of course. Who isn't? But no. Beyond that. So the girl math thing. There are shreds here that if men are honest with themselves, we have used, and I'm gonna explain this. So if you're doing a brake job and you go to bring back your rotors, and you're gonna get the money back for the cell chart money back, right?
Your core charge or whatever, right?
Your core charge, right? So that money's coming back. Or if, say, I bring something back to Cabela's and I get different lures for the trip, I don't tell my wife I spent $20 more at Cabela's. I did. I acknowledge I did. I'm not saying it was free. It wasn't free. I spent the money. But we might use the same way to hide our spending without calling it free sometimes, if we're really honest with ourselves in how we handle some pieces of what we're doing.
It's an interesting way to look at it.
I mean,
it's funny you bring up the core charge thing, Ben. I like that. And it basically is like a rebate coupon, right? That's basically what it is. If anybody remembers rebate coupons.
Well, it's that Kohl's cash, right? Well, if I spend $50, I get $5 free. But you spend $50. Yeah, but I got I could buy.
And you're not going to buy, and you're not only going to buy an item that's only $5, right? You're going to buy something that's $35. So
100%. So
now you just spend another $30 instead of getting $5 for free.
And that core charge money we're getting back, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, look, whatever. So I'm just saying, if I'm confessing as a man, we do some girl math occasionally ourselves, but we use different words to make ourselves feel better. And that's the side that I will admit. The other part I'll say is the cash side. The idea that if we use cash for beer at the game, I may or may not have spent that money. I don't remember what I spent the game for beer. I don't know. It's not on the credit card. Again, it wasn't free beer. I know that. You know that. But it's a gray area there. Again, this is tongue in cheek, of course, guys. But you know what I'm saying is there's pieces of the girl math I think that most logical women will say they understand they're facetious with. That if we as men are honest with ourselves, we'll do the same thing when it serves us correctly. So
you brought up something here, and this is a little fun thing to end on here. I always thought there was a missed opportunities in the mid to late '90s for a band to be called Free Beer and to go on tour with the Bare Naked Ladies.
Right.
What the name of that venue? The title on that venue would say Free Beer and Naked Ladies. Tell me that would not sell out.
Every time. Best opener ever. Free beer. Okay.
I'm there. Where's the free beer? They're on stage.
Well, back being a little serious though, the Taylor Swift one with Travis Kelce, I laugh because I see how bad these guys mark out in their wife's comments, and it makes me laugh. See for how hard there's how bad these guys just can't believe their wives, and they're they literally have to leave the room. And I don't know. I'm a sucker for couples comedy. My wife, I'm the chick in our relationship. I watch all the couples comedy groups on TikTok. But anyway, so thanks guys for humoring me. I talked way too much.
Hey, shout out to Marco, his son. I know they're kind of getting checked up here right now, and hopefully he's okay.
Oh yeah.
So we're thinking of you, Marco. We hope everything goes okay. I've dealt with some infections and stuff before too, so that stuff you can't take that stuff lightly. Get it treated, get some antibiotics in there, and get that stuff all cleared up because that stuff can sneak up on you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And while I can, I'm gonna call one more little thing for my own son. Taking him hunting this weekend, youth hunting weekend in Wisconsin. So I
Nice.
hope my little buddy gets we got a nice 9-point buck on camera. I'm hoping that thing comes through for him this weekend. So
Nice.
hoping little buddy gets his first buck. So we'll see what happens.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right.
Yeah, good
Cool.
luck.
Thank you guys. Well,
Yeah.
tell you what, guys, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a good night, and thanks for talking tonight.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, see
For
ya.
life.